Welcome back to Wham Bam Thank You Jams. We highlight new music.
And some old.
That we think deserves acknowledgement.
And thanks.
Wham Bam! Thank you Jams!
This week we will be highlighting a new album from
The Kings of Leon.
The album name is
When You See Yourself.
which is very deep in and of itself.
Too deep.
Deep.
Right up in there.
Yes, The Kings of Leon, their 8th album?
8th studio album.
8th studio album. They haven't put one out since 2016.
Yeah.
So it's been 5 years.
Overdue.
5 years.
About time. So a little background for you if you need it, which you probably don't because everybody knows who the Kings of Leon is. But real quick, unless you're like a super fan like me, there's some fun stuff to know. First of all, it is 4 family members, 3 of which are brothers: Caleb, the lead singer, Jared, the bassist, and Nathan, the drummer, and their cousin, Matthew Followill. They've been doing this since 2003 was their first album. The early stuff was very kind of garage rock, more punky, more grungy, really loud, really thrashy. And then they started kind of working on more long form, kind of tracks that had a little bit more meaning and a little bit more emotion to them. And then once they got 2008 with their breakout huge hit album Only by the Night, which had Use Somebody and Sex on Fire, which are 2 of the biggest rock songs of the generation, I guess.
Yeah, since the 2000.
Yeah, that really established them as an arena rock band. And then from that, Come Around Sundown, Mechanical Bull, and Walls are all excellent on their own albums, which was still in that same sort of Only by the Night thing. There's little influences here and there, but it was still that arena rock feel. And now with When You See Yourself, the most recent album, I believe it's a bit of a return to form in the sense of the longer, more emotional, more meaningful kind of vibe that they're going for.
That's what he said, yeah, in an interview that I read on Apple Music. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to get back to more of their earlier stuff, which was a little bit more melodic, thoughtful. So that is intentional in this album. That's less sex is on fire, on the nose.
And more like sex means something to us on a deep, deep level.
This album's feel, like we said, it is more low-key. It is not quite that same driving, blasting rock and roll.
For sure.
Which, in a lot of ways, I think is what defined them, especially from that 2008 album. But that's not nearly the whole scope of what they are.
Yeah.
And while I think some casual fans probably were hoping that's what this album might be, if you look a little deeper and you just go with what they're giving you, it's still a phenomenal album. The musicianship is, of course, on point.
Yeah. They're always good. I mean, they've always had, like, really solid. It's never anything that's too complicated, but it's never anything that's too boring or too simple and 4-chordy. Like, they always do a nice vibe or a groove or something that's just a little bit different, or like a little switch up here and there that you don't really kind of expect, even though you still can follow it really well, which I think the Kings of Leon really perfect and do that really well. His
vocals are still on point. He sounds exactly the same. He's not gunning for those crazy belting notes that he does in like Sex on Fire. Yeah. His voice sounds crisp and good.
Yeah, man.
Young Caleb.
Young Caleb the God.
Onto the tracks. The first one, which is kind of self-titled, it's a little longer. When You See Yourself, Are You Away? Great track.
Oh, that's a nice. When you see yourself, are you away?
Away or away?
Do you feel away, or are you like too far removed from yourself? Damn.
It's rock and roll, but it's not like, again, that.
It's understated.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy in your face rock. That's probably one of my favorite songs on the album.
The first track is amazing. It really does set the tone for the album. Yeah, it really is good.
I think the single, The Bandit, Caleb said that when he was writing this album, he was trying to channel his inner Willie Nelson and artists like that to write a story about 2 guys, one who is a bandit and one who is the police or the law chasing him.
Oh, that's cool.
And it becomes more about the chase than the actual end game, which is kind of a metaphor for life, really. You know? It's the journey, not the final product.
And isn't that really what the Bandit does it for? They do it for the thrill deep down. They don't do it for the money or for the, like, you know, the security in the future. They really do it because
I mean, you think about anything in life, like, when the thing is over, it's kind of like, whatever it may be. You know?
About that process.
Yeah.
I agree with Mason. I think the first song is excellent. I think The Bandit is great, which was the single paired with the other kind of single they put out called 100,000 People. I love this. There's this, like, sort of driving tune in the back of the other members going, you do. So catchy.
For 1,000.
100,000 People is the name of the
song.
Yeah,
that song it's really good too. It's about Alzheimer's. It's an ode to his father-in-law who came down with Alzheimer's, unfortunately.
Very sad.
It's very sad, but it's also it is like almost like a love ballad.
Yeah, it makes for good music too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the track Stormy Weather. It's one of the more upbeat ones on the album, which was, you know, as we said, kind of
their bread and butter.
It's their bread and butter, and it's a little missed personally. But I think Stormy Weather is it's a really great track. Which kind of happens a lot, but I'm a bigger fan of the earlier parts of the album than the last. I think it sort of loses some steam near the end. Even though there's still some solid tracks, I just think it's not as fully realized as some of the earlier parts of the album.
In the second part of the album, though, it is a little bit more. It's even more subtle. One of the songs that I really like is called Clarinetti. It's a song about Mother Earth and the people that inhabit it and how they function together. One of the lyrics that I really enjoyed was, "Fire's gonna rage if people don't change. A story so old, still so original." And then I think one of my favorite songs, again, is the final track, Fairy Tale. It's just very beautiful.
Yeah. We love a beautiful track. We love a beautiful track. So my, like, kind of hot take overall, I'm like a diehard Kings of Leon fan. I follow them since...
Top 5 for you?
Top 5 is really hard for me to say.
Top 10?
Top 10, definitely. They just mean a lot to me. A lot of those songs, a lot of the albums, I have absolutely outplayed and burned to the ground. They've just meant so much to me personally. I loved singing it. It was a time in my life that I really needed this band. And I've just always been a huge fan of all of their music.
Covered some of their songs in
college. I was in a cover band, and we would Use Somebody, and I would stand up there and be like, I'm a rock star. And it was just, you know.
What was the name of that band?
The Smokin' Aces.
Also a major motion picture.
I'm just a huge fan, and so I feel like I hold them to a really high standard. And this album is great. It's still really, really good, and I like the return to form of it being a little bit more chill, a little bit more understated, a little bit deeper. But at the same time, I think because there's so much of that on the album, and the whole album sounds like that, I think it winds up tracks wind up not standing out the way that I wish they did, or the way that I wish they have done on past albums by, like, bringing more stuff together. It's very conceptual and it's very cohesive together.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing, which we do like. But sometimes cohesive doesn't mean... You know, cohesive can mean there's a bunch of different songs that all still work really well together, and this is like one really big, long mood. And
I think it's a little one note.
I think it's a little one note. I think some things get lost in the sauce of this very, like, chill vibe that they do. It's just like, because it's also kind of the same, nothing just really ever quite stands out as, like, a track for me.
I think I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than you did, because I think it is a little less on the nose, like songs that are like, this sex is on fire, which is like, the song itself is driving, but then maybe the lyrics are like a little over the top, and I think they wanted to dull that down and then kind of come back to, like...
Which is good.
Which I think is okay.
Yeah. Especially for now in their career, I feel like it's like, they're older now. I think it's time
Yeah, for sure. I think they're still capable of those types of...
Oh, yeah.
From what I heard from his voice and from the musicianship, that they're still... killing it.
Yeah.
And I think there are some that are still stick out, but not in that same driving way. And I think that's just not what this album was. I don't think that was what the plan was from the get-go. I made a comparison. I think they have a Eddie Vedder quality to them.
Sure.
And I think, when Eddie Vedder, and later in his career, when he was just doing his solo stuff, it was much more subdued, much chiller, less in your face, less just blasting rock and roll.
And they've played together too, right?
Yes, they have.
Like on
Yeah,
tour and
for
stuff,
sure.
yeah,
So there's definitely an influence there. I mean, it has to be.
You know, they made a lot of, and like country, and like they've done so many different things that it's like, that's why it's totally okay. That's just my take on it, but I think it's totally okay that they put an album like this out because, you know, people evolve, people get older, and you can't just keep coming out with the same exact thing. You're just human. That's just the kind of person that you become, the kind of artist that you evolve into.
In a few years, they might put out another one that's got some bangers on there that.
Oh baby, I'll be waiting for it.
Blow the doors down.
Blow the doors down.
So yeah, I think that's our review. I am still very much appreciative of this album. I think it's good, and I will continue to bump it. It is great.
We definitely
chill music, man.
Yeah.
Throw the Philips Hue lights down to purple and blue and just chill.
Fucking vibe, bro.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a vibe. We leave you with this. Thank you, Kings of Leon, for your new album. It is very good.
Wham Bam!
Thank you, Jams! Boing.